Hey, good day, everybody, and welcome to the CMA CMO webinar for this Friday. And I hope you're doing well wherever you're located today. I am Phil McGrath, and Vice President of Business Development for the Association. And I'm going to host the webinar today. We have an outstanding topic, one that is really turning into becoming red hot within the industry: how retail media will drive success. Today, the company presenting will be Synke. Presenting for us today is Michael Weissman, their CEO.
So what is retail media? Essentially, retail media is advertising that runs on the retailer's properties. In the old days, that retail media might have been in-store visual displays that could include things that were mailed to consumers, FSIs, and store flyers and things like that. Today, in the modern world, this is the ability to communicate more effectively on the e-commerce properties, on the mobile apps and things like that. In this discussion, I won't be talking about performance media because to me, it's done through the retailer, but it's not really retail media. It's not the retailer as a publisher, and that's going to be the focus of my discussion. Now, why is retail media important for retailers? If you look at Amazon, Amazon has more than half the e-commerce share. What most people don't know is why. Why do they have half the share? Well, they have a secret strategy called 1070. And what this means is that for every $10 in e-commerce sales, Amazon is selling $1 in retail media. That in the last 12 months, that was $24 billion in sales, advertising sales. They're making like 70% margins on this. So that means that they had a gross margin of $17 billion in the last 12 months. Now, if you look at Amazon's financials, they didn't do $17 billion in total profits. What does that tell you? The ad business is subsidizing the e-commerce business. I want to say that again. Amazon is a publisher that also sells products, because if the primary profit is not coming from the e-commerce, then that's the business that they're in. They're using those margin advantages to fund predatory pricing, same-day delivery, all sorts of cool features that Amazon is using to drive share. They're doing that because it's being subsidized by advertising. This is the business they're in. And for everybody in this room, you should all be worried about this, because we know historically that Amazon is not a benevolent dictator. They are not a company who does not utilize its monopoly power. And so the more that we fund that monopoly and drive other retailers out of business, the worse the industry is going to be in terms of profitability. So I think that this is paramount, because if you realize that they're subsidizing this business, and you took away that advantage, which is about a 7% net margin advantage, you'd find that most other retailers compete quite well. So if you understand that, you can see how it's a quick path to remediating the problems with Amazon. Now, why is retail media important for brands? You have to think about it this way. There's only 3 times to run an ad: before the customer is shopping, to maybe encourage them to start shopping for a product; while they're actively in the process of shopping; or to run ads after they shop. Which do you think has the highest receptivity? The consumers are only receptive to ads when they're active, they're in market, and they're actively shopping. And the closer to the time and place of purchase, the more likely they are going to be receptive to the ads. And it's just a truism about advertising. And yet most of the marketing dollars spent in, for example, digital advertising is spent outside of the moment. And that's just crazy from my perspective. So if you look at retail media, there are different kinds of retail media. There are banner ads, and these are things that you should be well familiar with. And an example of this banner ad is this one here. This is a good banner ad because it's a camera ad running on a camera page on a retailer site. That's a good use of ads. We do see quite often banner ads have nothing to do with the product category, and that, from my perspective, is a bad use of the ads. You have a second thing, which is relatively new to some people, called sponsored listings. These tend to show up at the top of the page or at the bottom of the page, and now even now and then you'll see them interspersed throughout the page. And what these kinds of ads are trying to move you from an inferior product listing location to a superior product listing location. So in this example, this Kodak has bought itself, you can see this word sponsored listing here, it has bought itself the premium position in this listing. This is on a Walmart. And so you're paying for the location. The best way to think about this is if you remember the old Yellow Pages, you had a listing of all of the vendors in the Yellow Pages, and you'd pay to be first in the listing. It's not an ad per se, it's just a movement of the listing. The third is one that most people are unfamiliar with, which are called enhanced product listings. Now, enhanced product listings are ads that run on the organic search results or organic product results themselves. They often are displayed with something like this, a little play button, and they are full interactive ads, either videos or HTML or something interactive. And these are ads specifically associated with the product being promoted. And since this is new to you guys, I want to kind of switch and show you the ad. So I'm going to run the ad. Just give us a little overview of what an enhanced product listing is if you haven't seen one before.
Retail media is the fastest growing part of e-commerce today, and it's about to accelerate even faster. Introducing enhanced product listings, a new type of retail media that turns every product on e-commerce sites into monetizable advertising inventory by overlaying rich media ads onto your product listings. These high-impact ads are extremely effective because they persuade shoppers exactly when they're deciding what to buy. Here's an example of enhanced product listings on a typical listing page. To interest the shopper, we place a play button next to the product. When the shopper clicks on the play button, the rich media ad shows without sending shoppers away from your site. The shopper then adds it to their cart or exits out. By adding the product to the shopper's cart, the platform accelerates the path to purchase and simplifies the shopper's buying process. Enhanced product listings are the perfect retail media. They're the first ads designed to enhance the shopping experience rather than harm it. They open up new advertising real estate with higher click rates, and they boost ad profits by delivering as much as 30 times more ad revenue than you're making today. Plus, enhanced product listings are incredibly effective. They drive e-commerce sales lift by 10% or more. Grow your profits by adding enhanced product listings to your existing retail media arsenal. To learn more, visit Thinky.com.
Now what I want to do is kind of give a reason why you would want to use each of the different ad types. So as you saw in that digital camera example, a banner ad is good because it gives you some brand impact. It might increase awareness of a product, just increasing recall. We used to call it in the packaging word billboarding, where you're actually trying to create a shelf presence. So think about how a banner ad can create shelf presence on the category page or something like this. most banner ads are interactive, so you can tell a bigger story. Sometimes vendors will want to capture either just through cookie or some other means that shopper so that they can build their own databases. Although I would caution anyone who's trying to buy an ad that takes a shopper away from the e-commerce site, that's a really big no-no, and you should definitely not support any banner platform that takes the shopper away from the retailer. That's going to harm your retailer and probably harm you too. It can be used to promote a bigger brand story, like some cause marketing, maybe a little bit about your environmental footprint or your sourcing or some other benefits like that. And these ads tend to be top of funnel. The sponsored listings, really what you're doing is you're buying a premium location. And does buying a premium location work? And the answer is yes. It can be very effective to increasing, especially in a product that tends to be very low on the page. You can get a real benefit out of that. It is better in categories that I would consider brand indifferent, where think about it like in the electronic space, cables. Cables can be very profitable, but cable brands are not necessarily very powerful. And so the consumer decision is less about the brand and the reputation of the brand or the brand equity and more about just being in a premium location. I think that is a better use than in more brand differentiated categories. What's good about sponsored listings, it is SKU level. You can actually do it for a specific listing. So you can make investments on a SKU level, whereas on a banner, it might be more categorical. In most cases, you're bringing shoppers from the listing page to the detail page. In some categories like CPG, it might actually take you right to the add to cart, which is great. And I see this more as a middle of the funnel kind of environment. You're in a competitive choice environment, so it's a good place to run those. The third is enhanced product listings. This is great when you want to do really start to educate the customer about the product or build preference, because it's persuasive content. A sponsored listing is not an ad, it's just a location change. There's no persuasion that goes on where it does in a banner ad and it does in a product, an enhanced product listing. Again, it's SKU level marketing. It's really good for product introductions and promotions. And it is you're telling the bigger story like you do with banner ads, but you're telling it at the shelf. You're telling it right in front of the product that the consumer is interested in. And one of the things that we find is it brings emotion to the point of purchase. If you think about all of the persuasive and emotional content that exists, that a brand makes, they're putting that in Facebook or in TikTok, or they're putting it in YouTube or something like that, but they're not actually putting it in the time and place of purchase. And this allows that emotional selling to happen right when the shopper is actively shopping for that specific product. Like the banner ad, it's good for cause marketing and things like that. And it's a middle to the bottom of the funnel because it can not only appear on the listings, it can also appear on the detail pages as well, in coupon sites and other parts of the site. So it has a broader appeal in that middle to the bottom of the funnel.
Hey, now, Michael, it's Phil here. I just had a question in my mind, and maybe you're going to be addressing this next. Is it correct assumption it's location that is really driving cost or revenue here? So the banner is more expensive than the sponsor ad, more expensive, which is more expensive than the enhanced product listing?
It's not really always that way. honestly, the most expensive thing is going to be the sponsored listing. And I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
They all are useful in their own purposes. You just have to be smart about what those are. So let me talk about it from a revenue model point of view. If you look at banner ads and you're looking at above the fold, there's only a couple ad locations. So if you're trying to generate retail media, you can't generate a ton of it from banner ads because they have very low click rates. If you wanted to work out the math, let's say you had 100 million page views a year, you would have 100,000 CPM. If you had $5 a CPM, you're going to make $500,000 on those banners. That's what you're going to do if you do CPM. On a CPC, if you have 100 million visitors and your click-through rate is 1/10%, again, you're going to be at something like 100,000 clicks out of that 100 million that are delivered. So you'll have to work out what is your average CPC. But the reality is in CPC, the banner ads would generate tens of thousands, maybe a $30,000 a year in revenue. It's not great. Since you only get a 0.1% click rate, if you have 2 of them, you're only going to get 2/10 of the visitors are going to be monetized. And you're going to share that revenue with the ad provider, Google or whatever. There are some other things that happen on banners you should be weary of and benefit from. Most of the national platforms like Google Display and so forth, the ads aren't relevant to the retailer's site. And so they kind of harm the shopping experience. And most shoppers skip them anyway. The good news is if you're a retailer, you're kind of peeling money out of the national budgets because the national advertisers won't necessarily know it's going onto a retailer site. And so the retailer will benefit from some of those national dollars. So there's some benefit to that. Because of the way that most display ads are run, you sort of need an ad sales or buying intermediary to make sure that you're making money on this. One of the worst things is I would never on either side, vendor or retailer, partner with anyone where the banner sends them away from the e-commerce site because it just hurts your e-commerce partner. For retailers, they have to be very careful that the banners don't crowd out the organic search results, because when they do, they actually push products to page 2, and those will actually reduce your e-commerce sales. Because according to the latest study, most people only stay on that first page. On sponsored listings, they're priced as a CPC. You have a bidding system that drives the price. They have more locations, both above the fold and below the fold. And they generate a much higher click rate than the display ads, about 2.5 times more than the display ads. And they can get to monetizing 1 to 2% of the total retailer's traffic. And then the revenue shared with the ad provider, or if there's a ad sales organization that does some additional sales, they'll take a little cut of the revenue as well. Now, the challenge with sponsored listings is they generate, typically you'll see the average return on ad spend is 2.5 times. But the secret for sophisticated folks in your organization to understand is that those return on ad spends are based upon gross sales price, not on wholesale price. And so if you look, we have this matrix on the side here that says, let's say that you have a 50-point margin and your retailer is making over 20% on the sale of the product. You're going to lose money on a 2.5x return on ad spend. And what you find is that you have to be at very extreme kinds of ratios where the vendor is making enormous margins and the retailer is making almost no margins for a 2.5x return on ad spend to actually be profitable for the advertiser. You might be buying sales, and you might have an argument to do that, but you need to recognize that you probably need to be in the 3.5 kind of return on ad spend to break even. And so this is a simple model for how to think about retail media as a buyer of. The second problem is bidding wars. What happens in sponsored listings is if you're the first to do a sponsored listing in your category, you're going to crush it. You're going to steal share, and it's going to work great. And that is the best money you will have ever spent in sponsored listings, because your competitor is going to realize you're stealing share and how you're stealing share. And they're going to start to want to do sponsored listings too. And you're going to start to bid against each other, and the price of the sponsored listing is going to go up. What is that going to do? It's going to reduce your return on ad spend. And you're going to get to a point where only the richest advertisers are going to be able to afford to do it. And what that does is it pushes out other vendors who would have advertised. The other problem with sponsored listings is you're allowing lower quality product companies to buy premium locations that the consumer might misbelieve that they are more popular products. And that might ultimately, they will buy those inferior products, and that will reduce the quality of the shopper's experience with you as a retailer. And so you have to be careful about that. And because of the complexity of sponsored listings, where you're buying keywords, demographic matching, you're doing bidding and so forth, it's requiring ad buying experts. And that's money that's taken out of the hands of the brand, because the brand is giving the money to the expert, which lowers the amount that's going to actually buy the media. So that again lowers the ROI. A couple other things that are risky about sponsored listings is some platforms that integrate on the back end will slow e-commerce sites down. And already we have a pandemic, if you will, of low speed e-commerce sites. It's one of the biggest weaknesses of e-commerce today. And so every second it slows down, it actually has a direct impact in overall e-commerce sales. So you have to be very careful if you have a technology that does actually slow it down. And then lastly, you're pushing the organic listings down the page. And so that's another thing to consider. On enhanced product listings, these are sold as cost per click. What you have is each organic result can basically display an ad, and there's no bidding or keywords. The only ad that can run on that listing is the product that is being promoted by the retailer. So there's no competitive bidding, there's no being pushed out. And generally you can have 12 to 24 products above the fold, which gives you a much larger sellable real estate. And the click rates on enhanced product listings are 4 to 20 times the click rates of sponsored listings. Again, to Phil, to your point, why do they get clicked higher? Because they are in the right location. For sure, in that case, that is the primary differentiator. What it does is open up almost a 10x increase in the monetizable inventory. Now, things to consider about enhanced product listings is they utilize the organic prioritization of the e-commerce engine. So it doesn't fight between the sponsored listing prioritization and the e-commerce team's personalization engines or whatever. It allows the existing prioritization to work. And because it's not based upon anything complicated like keywords and bidding and so forth, the consumers just, the advertisers just put in the SKU they want the ad to run next to, so it doesn't require any expertise. The typical ROI is a 4x, so it is designed to be profitable for every advertiser. And because of that, from a retailer point of view, the advertisers buy again and again and again. So you don't have a problem with trying to force advertisers to buy. It generates a positive ROI. It is something very helpful. It's content that's useful for the shopper at the moment they're interested in it and nowhere else. And then this technology, at least the way we deployed it, it actually loads after the page load, so there's no speed impact. There's no sales intermediary required. It's a self-serving ad platform, and it accesses both budgets. For advertisers, I want to make a couple final comments, and then we'll wrap up. According to Forrester, Google itself, more than half the ads that are delivered on the internet are not seen by humans. So if you're spending $1 million on ads across a display network, know that 500,000 of that $1 million isn't seen by a human, according to the people who know. And on the digital trade side, half of the spend there is a negative ROI as well. So something to consider. And another thing to have in your mind is that the reason why there's so much misspending is because the advertisers don't know what's working. Retail media allows people to know what's working. So displayed ads are delivered when customers don't want to see them and you don't know if it works or not. Facebook, you're at least getting more targeting so that you can have more receptivity. Google search is much better because people are searching for a specific product. And there is some kind of attribution, although not all the bunch. But retail media itself, because it's on retailer sites, allows for tracking in a way that has never been done before. And so you can actually get full attribution. And this makes it clear that if you don't have a profitable program, it'll go away quickly. And because these are profitable programs, companies like Amazon are growing 70% year over year in their retail media business. Okay, kind of last slide here. If you're a vendor and you're thinking about your budgets for media in general, you should think of retail media as the first place to spend your money. Because regardless of banner sponsored or enhanced product listings, you're going to get a better ROI on your retail media spend than your traditional digital media spend. You're not going to have any brand safety issues because you're going to be on your customer's site next to your product. You're not going to have any fraud issues because the retailers don't fraudulently drive traffic to their sites like other publishers do. And you're going to have it seen by folks. So you're going to end up with a much higher ROI with any retail media. And then I would start from the shelf back. It's an old P&G concept, but I find that it is very valid, that you should start to win the sale closest to the time and place of purchase, and then work back from there up the funnel to earlier and earlier in the process. From our perspective, the enhanced product listings are your bread and butter because they're consistently delivering an ROI. Sponsored listings should be used, especially if they can boost organic results. The companies we know who are most successful with sponsored listings use them intermittently to raise their organic results so that they can blend their cost of sales. And then I would do banners on sites that actually only do the banners by category that are associated with the category. And I would do that to create brand impact when you're trying to build that. If you guys have any questions afterwards, you can reach out to our Chief Revenue Officer, John Hoy. And I thank you for your time.